Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Something to Talk About. I'm your host, Jay. How's everyone doing today? I'm feeling good. How is the coming of spring treating you so far? I hope listening to Something to Talk About podcast will make it even better and bring some sunshine to your day. On today's episode, I do have something to talk about. That time I almost went to jail. Yes, you heard it right. But it's a whole traumatic experience that put some sense into my head real quick. But we'll get more on that later. But first, if you would like to have one of your talents, artists on the show, or you're a celebrity and you have something to talk about, it would be my pleasure to have you on Something to Talk About with Jay Podcast. All you have to do is reach out by sending us an email inquiry at contactsomethingtotalkabout@gmail.com for advertisement, sponsorship inquiries, or have us promote your brand and review your products in one of our episodes or on our website. Listen up. Want to advertise or sponsor Something to Talk About podcast? Send us an email at contactsomethingtotalkabout@gmail.com. To keep up with all the episodes, subscribe and listen on Apple Podcasts or on all platforms where podcasts are available. Something to Talk About podcast is your one-stop destination for unapologetic, authentic conversations that you won't get anywhere else. We're not afraid to say it just the way we mean it. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Also, make sure to follow Something to Talk About on all social media platforms, Instagram and YouTube at Something to Talk About with Jay, TikTok at Something to Talk About Pod, and on X at STTA Pod. Now, raise the volume up because I do have something to talk about. Let's dive in about the time where I've almost got my ass sent to jail. Once upon a time, little younger me thought it would be nice, of course, with the influence of friends, to go to the mall and get myself involved in questionable activities. Hear how it went down. So one afternoon, my friends and I skipped school and thought how fun it would be to go to the mall. So far, I didn't think nothing of it. To me, we were just going there to have fun and pass time. So we get there, and immediately they were like, oh, let's go here, a store where they sold clothing and other items, such as candies and stuff like that. Like I previously mentioned, I didn't think nothing of it. I was the type of kid that didn't want to do anything that looked like a crime because I knew once I reached home, if my parents ever found out, I would be comatose. Okay? So we're all in the store looking at stuff, and suddenly I see my friends just fill their pockets and bags with candies and other things. And they were like, come on, take some too. Bad decision. Listen, kids, don't ever listen to a friend that will suggest or bully you to steal things because that's not a real friend, okay? So, without even thinking, and because I didn't want them to make fun of me, so I did it. I started to put some cheap ass candies and chocolate in my pocket, and once we were done, we started to make our way out. And don't ask me how, because I don't remember. Everybody else exited the store without any problem. But once I was about to get out of the store, the security guard or manager grabbed me and was like, where you think you're going? Let me see what's in your pockets. I was freaking out internally, but I tried to keep my cool as much as possible. I told him, no, I don't have anything. I didn't take anything. Of course, he didn't believe me, so he brought me in the office and was like, give me back what you stole or I'm calling the police. I was like, okay, here. I put what I took on the table and he was like, I'm going to call your parents so they can come pick you up and let them know what you did. I was like, oh shit. In my mind, I was praying that anybody else but my mom and dad would answer that call. And thank God, because my prayers came true. When I called, one of my sisters answered the phone. And I told her, just pretend you're my mom, okay? Just pretend you're my mom. And she was like, what's going on? So the manager talked to my sister thinking it was my mom. And I don't remember what was said, but whatever she said was enough for him to let me go free. I was so relieved, but he did ban me from coming back to that store. Moral of this story is, do not steal anything and always think for yourself and the consequences of your actions, because things could have gotten worse if my parents answered that call. Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode of Something to Talk About with Jay Podcast. Subscribe and listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to rate and leave us a review. Thank you for your support. Now let's get back to Something to Talk About with your host, Jay. Welcome back to Something to Talk About. Do y'all know what time it is? If you've listened to episode 3, you'll know what's coming next. It's time to
disengage. Disengage.
Every week, I'll talk about something or someone we as a community need to let go and separate ourselves from. Any toxicity, bad energy, people that don't make no damn sense, and my world, your world, let's disengage from said things. This week, let's disengage ourselves from fake friends. Friends who are basically enemies disguised as friends. They want you to do good, but not better than them. They thrive when you're miserable and unhappy. But as soon you start having success and living your best life, they become jealous and envious, and suddenly they come at you with their negativity, anger, and resentment. A prime example is Lauren from Utah, aka Lala Kent. If you know what I'm talking about. Well, that's a wrap for episode 4. Thanks for joining me this week on Something to Talk About. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you'll never miss a show. For any feedbacks on today's episode, follow us on Instagram at Something to Talk About with Jay, or write us an email at contactsomethingtotalkabout@gmail.com. Also, please don't hesitate to tell us which topics you would like us to cover in future episodes. To get in touch, drop us a line in the comments section or send us a message on social media. Until next time, happy podcasting and thanks for listening. Bye!